Hi everyone, and welcome to today's Free Training Friday. My name is Kaylee White. I am a marketing coordinator here at Abacus Next. Today we will be talking about contingent billing in Abacus, and we have with us today Perry Lafferty. She is one of our corporate software trainers, and she will be going over how to use it for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then after that, we will take the remainder of the half-hour session to answer any of your questions. So feel free to submit your questions into the questions portion of the webinar control panel. You'll see there's a little arrow that points to the word questions. Click on that arrow, and then you could, from there, submit your question. And we will be looking at those as they come in. And don't worry about taking notes. We will send you the recording of this webinar later on in the day. So without further ado, I'm going to let Perry take it over.
Well, thank you, Kaylee. Yes, my name's Perry Lafferty, and I'm going to host today as we go through contingent billing in the AbacusLaw Accounting and Billing Program. For those of you that have been in training back whenever with me, that's great. Welcome back. It's always good to have, see friendly faces, friendly names in the crowd. As Kaylee mentioned, this is being recorded, so you all can get a copy of this. So basically, I'm going to start here in Abacus Accounting, and as all of you know, this accounting program also is where billing is and where billing's processed. So we're going to start with the idea that we have already entered a client and their matter in AbacusLaw and moved them over here into the billing program. And I'm sure you all already know how to do that, so those are basic startup things. But what I'd like to start with is actually looking at their matter here in the billing program to make sure we have chosen all the proper different details as far as what billing format, etc., we're going to be using. So the person I've set up for today is Mr. Anderson. So we'll pull up his matter, and here he is here. So once your matter opens up here, this is the details. These are the details, I should say, that came over from AbacusLaw. And then down here on the billing tab is where we're going to go to be sure that we've set up everything properly for a contingent bill. So the first thing we need to direct our attention to is to be sure we're pulling the proper billing format code. In our little lookup list here, wherever there's an arrow, there's always a lookup list. You can see that Abacus gives you many different kinds of formats, but for our settlement statement, this is the one we want to use. All right, this is very specific for this style of billing. This is a totally different look from our hourly billing and our flat fee billing. So that's why it has its own code here. And also within the code, we're going to be sure that on our little reporting options tab here, we have this option checked off. So this is going to put settlement statements on contingent matters. All right, so this must be turned on for this format, not necessarily for the other formats. So that's the main detail inside the billing format code that we want to make sure has been activated. And of course, then we are using this, the code is the C for the settlement statement, and that is then chosen here for our billing format code. So that's all you really need to do there. Then of course, under our billing mode, we've decided this is a contingency case, and what we do after we choose that is there's a box that opens up here, and this is where you put the percentage of the award or settlement that the firm is going to receive as their fees. Okay? Now I realize there's no percentage sign showing here, but you just type in the first two digits and then a decimal point. So if this was going to be something instead of a straight 40%, perhaps it was 33%, you can put in all the way to the third decimal. And Abacus will use that when it calculates the actual attorney fees. Okay? I'm going to just keep it on 40 because it's going to be nice and clean when we look at our number there. Okay? Our third detail, I call this my little billing triangle. My third detail is the billing frequency. Now, the billing frequency for contingent cases, as you all already know, is generally at the end of the matter. Now, when you go into billing to request your matter, You know, you should have end of matter here, but you can still pull it up without it saying so. So this is not a game ender here, but we want to be sure, you know, just to keep our database clean, that we use C for contingency for settlement statement, the contingent choice here under billing mode, and then the end of matter choice for billing frequency. Okay, so those are the main details in your matter maintenance that we want to make sure we have set up. So we save that, make sure everything's in place here. And now, you know, if you all are keeping your time on contingent matters, I always think that's a good thing, because even though the client doesn't see the time tickets, you will still be able to see reports out of your Abacus program here under productivity that show you all, you know, all the time that's spent on any case, so that, you know, when you're analyzing the business plan, you see how much time it takes for these cases to be sure that the fee that's coming in can cover all costs that are needed. So I like entering time. I think it's a good idea, but of course, with our billing format that we just chose, the time tickets are not going to physically show on the bill. Okay? Now, after that, the next thing to talk about are costs. All right? And we know there's always costs associated with these cases. So you want to be able to make sure that you track those costs. One of the spots we're going to work with today is cost and adjustments here. And this is where all of your soft costs need to be input. Now, what the heck is a soft cost? What does that mean? Well, basically, a soft cost will be items that are more or less overhead to your firm. In other words, things like photocopies. The client doesn't truly pay for the printer themselves or the paper themselves. They are simply getting charged by copy, but the firm, you know, kind of absorbs that and then passes on the photocopy cost to the client. So you're not physically writing a check for that cost and charging it back to the client directly. So that's why they're called soft costs, and this is the place we input them. So we open this up, and I'm sure you all are well aware of our posting functions within the Abacus billing program. So we come in and add here. All right, we have the date. I have gone ahead and put my little matter up here on my speed bar so I can quickly access him. Then, of course, we choose our particular cost in here. I'm going to use faxes this time just to be a little different. That's also considered a soft cost. So there we are. And if you want to set up a cost per item, you can do so, and I'll show you that in a moment. Or you could just input it on the fly. And I'm going to make up numbers here. There we go. And basically, that's all you have to do. The debit is automatically defaulted. The fact this is a new cost going on the bill when we do process it, it will come through as unbilled. And this is not a write-off. So it's pretty simple there. You hit save. Now, we also are going to post this. So we simply come down to the bottom button and post. And this kind of what activates it and makes it go over so it will appear on that settlement statement. Now, with contingent cases, you all have special kinds of costs, all right? You may have costs that have to be taken care of before the client gets their percentage of the award or settlement, but you may not actually be paying for them before that happens. So in other words, you want to get them in your system, but you physically don't want to spend the money until that money comes in, you know, back from the award or the settlement for the case. So what you can do to get those in here, because those are a little different than soft costs, we physically do have to print checks at some time, is if it's going to be done out of the operating account, you're going to come under AP and you're going to use the two-step check writer. So this takes you in and allows you to set up the payable and post it, but it will simply wait here for you to actually process the check until you're actually ready to do so at the end of the case. So let's do this. All righty, and this again is a posting function. So we've got our little buttons over here. We'll go to add. Now, of course, any information you can put in here is a good thing. So I'm just going to have an invoice number. And then, of course, you want to have your vendors set up. All right, that's kind of like before we even get started with this stuff, we should set up our vendors as part of our initial process. Okay, so I'm going to use a particular vendor I have set up. we're going to use this physicians and therapists vendor. And I'm going to put in the dollar amount here. Let's say it's $4,600 in a nice description. Okay, this is for matter, let's see, Art Anderson. Okay, now to get this so that it goes over to their settlement statement and remains in your system for a check to be processed, you come to the client section so we can actually push it through to the client. So you click on that, and you can see you've got lots of room here, but this is just his bill. Okay, he's not really sharing this bill with any other matter. You know, if that did come up, you could do so. But what we want to do is go pick our matter. So once again, we put in our name, find our person. Okay, now what I've done is when I set up my vendor, I set up this kind of expense code. Now this is a special expense code, and I'm actually going to go show you what it does. With physician, that is one of them, and then there's another one for medical expenses. For physician expenses, Abacus defaults this to be what we call a letter of protection, or more commonly known, I think now, as liens. Okay, so these are bills that need to be paid, but that are not being forefronted by the firm. These are bills that will be paid when the case comes to an end. So they're actually set up in a different section of the settlement statement. Right? It's not in the section that are the normal costs that the law firm pays for during the time of the buildup of the case. These are costs that are in a separate section. So Abacus has this one already set up to handle it. And as I mentioned, there's another one also set up for medical expenses. I wouldn't set them up by doctor, because then you're going to have a million different codes in here for, you know, one for each doctor. What I would do is put in the description the doctor. Okay, so let's go ahead and get in here. And if I wanted to put in here something about the doctor, I certainly could do so. So we'll say Dr. Williams. Okay, and any more details that you'd like in there, you can do that. All right, so this way it will come through to our settlement statement. So we've got to put the amount in here, of course. So let's get our $4,600 in there, and then we're done. Now, of course, this is a posting function, so we'll do that. Now you can tell I have not written a check for that. I've simply entered it and posted it. So that's as far as I've gotten, but it's going to be on their bill. So let's go ahead and go through to the bill. So under billing, we'll go to print bills. As you can see, I'm kind of skipping the pre-bill step. We just really want to see what this looks like. So I'm going to individually go to this particular matter, and it popped into place because I have them set up on my speed bar. So all I have to do is say add to billing run. Now this is where, because nowhere yet have we put in what the amount is, right? So this is where it comes up. There's nowhere on the matter screen to put this. That's where the percentage goes. This is where the actual dollar amount of the entire award is. So let's see if I can type here. We'll say $100,000. All right, now our bill's ready to look at. Okay, so let's see what we have. All right, here's the information about our client matter. Here's the amount of the award or settlement. Here are the attorney fees. Remember, we did a straight 40%. Okay, here are the in-house costs, okay, the normal costs that the law firm may occur during the setup of the case. So there's our faxes. I did some other things before today, so you could see some more on this bill. And those total up. And then we have another section down here for our letters of protection, or our liens. And that basically, the one I just put in there, okay, I have not written the check yet, but I do have the $4,600 one sitting right there waiting, okay? So that also totals up here. And then the system's going to do the math for us. And on page 2, whoop, sorry, I think I didn't go far enough on page 1. Let's move down here and see if it's down here. Oh, no. Okay, here we go. Let me get my little screen out of the way here. Okay, and scoot up. Come here. Let's just get by it. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is where the client's going to sign this and, you know, sign off on the fact that this is the money they're receiving. So from start to finish, that wasn't too bad. The system will do the math for you. Okay? So now, if they're, of course, to finish up our process, we need to post our bill. So, of course, having it in a preview mode or printing it out, saving it to a file, whatever you want to do is great. And you can do this as many times as you need to, if you want multiple copies or something. But, of course, the final step would be to come over and actually post the bill. Can't forget about posting of the bills. So when we're ready, we come down to post, and we will take it, and we will post it. And, of course, for productivity, it's wanting to know about our posting date. Is this the date of the bill, the cutoff date? Yes, it is. Or you can adjust that, and there we go. So now it's going to take this, if we say yes, and actually put this amount on their matter screen, so you will always know going back in there that this case was done, and here's the settlement amount. And it will be listed right there on the matter screen. So this is a little bit of a new feature. So we'll say yes here. Okay. All right. Now, of course, people will say, well, how do we start distributing the money? Well, most of the time I've heard that the money does go through a trust account. So you are going to deposit that money into your trust account. And after it's cleared the bank, then you can start dispersing that trust. So, of course, for the trust side of this, I'm sure you all are already aware of this, we go to trust deposits, and this is where we will deposit the full amount that is going in. I didn't actually write down the numbers, but let's say it was $52,123.32, okay, for the amount going to the firm to pay for the fees and the cost. So, okay, whatever you'd like to put in here for your description so you know why, where this money came from. Okay, and of course this must be posted as well. Once you know the posting feature in Abacus, it's everywhere. So we post that, and of course it's asking about our date, and there we go. Now you're free to come in and either write checks through the demand check writer to disperse the funds, or to write checks through the check request and use the two-step process here. All right, so that would be the full circle as far as setting up the contingency, entering the cost and fees for the contingency, printing the bill, posting the bill, and putting money in trust to distribute it at the end of the matter. So that is a short and sweet version of contingent billing. Kaylee, I'll ask if there are any questions that would like to be answered.
Yes, we do have one. The question is, how do you add the matters into the billing?
Okay. All right. Well, adding our matters always starts in AbacusLaw. So at the bottom of my screen here, I actually have Law open. So I'll go into that to give you a quick overview. Basically, first you would start with your clients, which of course would be a name, and you would go to add a new name and simply fill out the screen. So that sets up your client. Okay? And we have classes on this. I think there's even online videos at the Abacus Next website that will show you in detail how to fill out screens in Law, how to fill out screens in the billing side. There must be, 50 or 60 different little quick videos that can walk you through this. So, of course, you pick your class, it's a client, and there we go, and then we can set up what we need to set up on the screen. And depending on the type of law you practice, you may have different screens. Okay, there is a personal injury special edition of Abacus that then would ask specifically for information you need for contingent billing. After you set up your name, of course, you set up your matter. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can find the one I put in here a little earlier. So we'll go to browse, but otherwise, if you're just adding a new matter, after you add your new name, that's great. I'm going to look to see if I've got it in here. Okay, let's see if I have any other Andersons in this. Okay, there he is right there. So obviously earlier today I came in here, and you can attach pictures. Okay, this one had a picture attached to it. So if not usually of the ambulance, but more like your client or something about that, that's a little feature in AbacusLaw. But what you want to do is set up your matter information, okay?
Perhaps up front you don't know the court name, you don't know the court case number, you can always come back and fill this information in. But the main piece of information we want here is to make sure we have our bill to link. So this takes the name and the matter, and we make sure we have a link type of bill to. This takes this and pushes it over into the billing program. So that was a good question because I didn't start from scratch, but now we've gone back and looked at that. So yes, you do have to add your name as your client and then the matter about the case, and make sure that when you come in here, if you don't have a bill to, you simply click on that and choose the name of the client, and that takes everything and pushes it over into billing. Thank you.
All right, the next one is to write the physical checks. Do you have to re-enter the payee info?
No, you don't, okay? Once you set up your vendors, and once again, guess what? Vendors are just other names that we have put in through AbacusLaw, and instead of when we added that name, we said it was a vendor instead of a client. So vendors actually start here. For those of you that have not done this, you just fill out the screen as if it was a vendor, and when you say it's a vendor, then it will push it over into the Abacus billing program and accounting program as a vendor, and it will be there as well. So there are obviously different class types depending on the names you're inputting. So once it's in here, when you go into your billing program and you're using accounts payable, all right, whether you're using the demand check writer, because that's an immediate check, that's not one we can wait till later to pay. The two-step process is later to pay. After I posted this, it's actually sitting in here waiting for me. So when I posted that a few minutes ago, there it is right here on the list. So it's waiting for me to simply hit the button, put my check in the printer, and it will print it out for me. Okay.
Okay, the next question, shouldn't the entire settlement amount of $100,000 go into the trust account, and then all checks, including our fees, be cut from the trust account, and then our attorney fee would be deposited into the operating account as a payment?
Very good. You caught me on that one. As it was coming out of my mouth, I knew I should have put in the whole $100,000 instead of the $40,000. You are so correct. The full amount of the settlement should be entered in as the trust deposit. See how good they were listening there? And posted, and then you go and get your checks out of trust. And as you said, yes, definitely, then that last step, if the money's being transferred, which should be into operating so the law firm can actually spend it, would be to go through payments received, all right, setting in or putting in your payment there not only for the the legal fees, but also the cost as well. And of course, when you're coming in here and you put in your matter number, okay, it shows the full amount that they owe here because I posted my bill, all right. So here we are, and it's against this particular invoice, so you can go through. Yeah, you're supposed to put in the amount. So you put in the amount here, and of course this is after you've written the check out of the trust account. So you put in the amount. Of course, how did this come over? From trust, number, whatever it might be. Hit the breakout. It breaks it out for you between hard costs. There's our soft costs for those faxes and photocopies. And then there are the fees for the attorney. And then the fee distribution, of course, is going to go through and be assigned to the responsible timekeeper. And you can change this if you'd like to. But that is putting the money that coming out of the trust account. So it's really two steps. You have to write the check out of trust, and then you must enter it as a client payment into the operating account. Thank you much for bringing that up, because you are right. It's not just the attorney fees that you're taking out of trust. It's going to be money for all parties. The attorney, of course, the fees and the cost, and then the check to the actual party receiving the settlement amount.
Yes, great catch. All right, the next one. If you are doing a partial disbursement holding some letter of protection items pending requests for reductions, how do you footnote or otherwise indicate that the money is being held but may be partially refunded if the provider agrees to a reduction?
Well, that's a good question as well. We have an option in here. It's actually in the billing format where you can put in a statement in there, a paragraph of information if you need to, as big as it needs to be, to let them know that will happen overall. But, okay, let me just show you where that is. So in our billing format code, in the contingent format, right here is a memo field. So you can cut and paste whatever you'd like to put in here, so the client will see this at the bottom of the bill. But that's not really identifying the individual payable. So what I would do, if you want to mark on your payable that that's going to happen, when you're inputting it through your AP, in the description area, I would note that so the client sees that. Okay, so I would put that in here. All right, so then when this payable does show on the bill, that description will come through. So as part of the description, they can see that this is maybe reduced in the future, or, if that kind of thing may happen.
All right, okay. We have time for one or two more questions. What if there are multiple defendants, each paying a different settlement amount at different times?
Well, you'd want to set up as many different matters or names as you need to, so that each one will be processed separately in Abacus, unless it's something that's called split billing, which is more for class action lawsuits. That's a whole other topic for another day, but I would set up individual matters with the particular details for them, and that way they will be processed whenever you need to. Also, one last note here, on the matter itself, I've heard that sometimes a case may go and be settled for part of it, but then it's going to go back to court and be readjudicated, so that on the matter we have to have the ability to bill them again. Well, you can do that for your particular matter. What you want to do is, after the first one's done and that's all been taken care of and all the debt's been paid and everything's done with that, you can actually come back into your matter. If you don't want to set up another matter because it's just continuing on with this matter, go into billing. And the big deal here would be to change this, because once it's been billed and posted, obviously Abacus changes it to the status of billed. If you go back and mark it unbilled, and of course, if it's a different percentage, say so, save this, and then when you go to process it again, it will process another amount as you input for the settlement or award on that case. So you can do multiple, well, not multiple at one time, but you could do additional contingent billing on a matter if you need to. Okay?
Okay. Can you add some more hard costs that have already been paid by credit card or by check that has been paid?
If you need to add additional hard costs that maybe weren't assigned to this matter when they were incurred, all right, maybe something, we wrote the check for, we paid for it, but now we need to assign it to the matter and we didn't do that, you can go back and use this cost adjustments area to do so. We just need to know that anything we put in here does not touch our checkbook. Okay, so if we enter a cost in here, we cannot process a check for it. These are costs that simply go straight to the matter billing activity. So it's kind of like those soft costs. Yes, we will pay for our printer at some time with a check, but it will not be related to this case. Of course, that check is then processed through AP, but we charge our clients here. Technically, you could put every cost in here, but then you would not have anything set up for checks to be written for those that you do want to process checks for. So, we have to know both areas and what to put in each place.
Alrighty, well, that's all the time that we have left today. Thank you so much, Perry, for your wonderful explanation of contingent billing. Everyone, there will be a follow-up email with the recording, If you still have any questions that remain, we have a record of all the questions that came in, so we will answer those by email within the near future. And if you have any other questions, feel free to email us at webinars@abacusnext.com. If you would like to propose another topic for a future webinar, we're all ears. And don't forget to sign up for next week's Free Training Friday. It's about importing form letters into Abacus Law. And thank you so much, Perry.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a happy weekend, safe weekend, happy Halloween. Kaylee's ready to go for Halloween, aren't you?
Yeah, today the Abacus Next office in San Diego, we're all dressed up in costume. We have a costume contest and lunch, so I'm a cheetah today. We got a whole Star Wars department. We've got Hulk Hogan, so it's a fun day. And thank you all so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.